basketball runs the South Dallas. Back-to-back for the Bulldogs of Broaddus.
Floater in the pick. Oh my! We are tied.
Hello and welcome to UIL Spotlight. And this week we're taking a look at the Girls State Basketball Championships that happened just this past week. My name is Mallory Hartley of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, and sitting alongside me, it's our resident basketball expert at Dave Campbell's Texas Football. It's Gavin Moritz. How you doing, Gavin?
Good, Mal. How are you? I don't know about expert by any means, but I've been covering the girls basketball state championships and a lot of the UIL sports as a whole since 2018 now. It means I'm getting a little bit old, but happy to be covering these games here with you once again. And I think it's one of the more entertaining state tournaments we've had in my 7 or 8 years doing this, and I'm excited to break them down with you.
And there's 12 games in total to break down, all of which deserve a specific spotlight. So let's go ahead and dive straight into 1A Division I, where Broaddus takes down Clyde-Eula 52-42. And as you can see here, let's take a look at Broaddus's road to state. And Gavin, to me, it looks like they kind of blew through these games with ease, all except one. What do you take away from this?
Mal, my takeaway here is, you look at the games, the first 3 rounds, Holdesetta, Zephyr, and Fayetteville, they blew those teams out of the water, right? That's kind of what happens. Broaddus, the reigning state champions, right? We'll touch on that more here in a little bit. But you notice in the first 3 rounds, the score's not particularly close. But then once you get into that regional final round, they defeated Brooklyn just by 6, 56-50. And I think that's really the kind of the telltale sign of how tough your side of the bracket is when you get into that regional final round, how tough is the regional final? And for Broaddus, it wasn't, it was the closest game they played in their whole playoff run, even up until state. And
then over to Clyde-Eula here, I think the story is kind of the same here. They blew through it with ease, but maybe these games were just kind of a little bit closer. They had to kind of play tooth and nail for each game and really get that win each time.
Right, and Clyde-Eula is a very scrappy team. We'll touch on that as well. I think you notice it in their playoff run, a lot more closer games than Broaddus played. And it kind of showed at state that these are 2 teams that were battle-tested and ready for the stage, and we ended up getting a game that was decided by just 10 points.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of these highlights from the 1A Division I State Basketball Championship game. And Gavin, one of my takeaways here is Broaddus goes back-to-back after winning the state championship in its first ever appearance last year. That's called the start of a dynasty, maybe?
For Broaddus, they certainly hope so, right? One thing I want to note here is, like a lot of 1A basketball programs, Broaddus played up, as we call it, in many of their non-district games. They've had wins over Tenaha in the season opener. Then they beat Lufkin, they beat Shelbyville, Diboll, Center, etc. The Bulldogs lost only 5 games all season, right? Their final loss actually came to Lipan, who we'll touch on a little bit later in this show. But the fact that Broaddus played so many non-district and tournament games against such high-level competition, to me, is why they were able to go on such a dominant postseason run again and win the state championship for the 2nd year in a row.
Coach Boyles definitely has something to be proud of the dynasty that he is building there at Broaddus. Congratulations again to Broaddus. But before we go, let's go ahead and pitch to our MVP. Here is Chase Snyder with Miss Jalea Mitchell, our MVP.
Why did you have that much emotion? What was just going through your mind?
Because honestly, I didn't think I was going to get it. I really forgot about it. I was just happy that we won, and because everybody doubted us, and I'm just glad to be back and winning it again.
Are you thinking 3 in a row already?
Yes, 3 in a row. We will be back next year.
She said it well, Gavin. They're going to be back next year. How about that?
Yeah, they've already made their first 2 tournament appearances. They've won them both. They've won the state championship in both. And I want to talk about Jalea Mitchell here a little bit. She posted a double-double on the game's biggest stage, 12 points, 12 rebounds. She also had 6 assists. She got it done in every statistical category and led the way, and there's a big reason why she was named the most valuable player of the 1A Division I UIL State Championship last week.
Congratulations again to Broaddus for winning the 1A Division I Girls State Championship basketball game. Let's move on to our 1A Division II state champions. And Nazareth defeats Saltillo 43-28, a dominant showing by the Swiftettes. And Gavin, let's go ahead and take a look at Saltillo's road to state. And what jumps out at me when you're taking a look at this is really that by-district dominance right there, 64-14. Rest of the games, they get a little bit closer, but man, they rolled through by-district with ease.
Yeah, and Saltillo is one of those teams, again, in Class 1A that you really think about as being one of those premier programs, right? To me, it's not a surprise they were in through their by-district matchup, no matter who they played. But I do think that the fact that the rest of their games got progressively just a little bit closer is telling to how loaded their region was until they defeated Milford in the regional final 47-21 and then moved on through the state semis into the Alamo Dome for the state championship.
And Nazareth's road to state, man, this is impressive. This is a team that has kind of solidified itself as a dynasty. And we'll get to that here in just a second. But man, that state semi game against Gordon, 48-46, it feels like, to me, they were getting ready for the state championships in that game.
Absolutely. I think Gordon is one of those programs, again, not even just girls basketball, but in all of Class 1A, you talk about as being maybe one of the premier schools in Texas for 1A athletics. And I think the fact that Gordon took them to the brink 48-46 in the state semis probably had Nazareth coming into that state championship on a bit of a high. They were saying, hey, we just got over the hump with Gordon. We beat them just narrowly by one possession. It's a 2-point win. And we feel like now we're ready for the biggest test of the year, right?
Right, absolutely. And Gavin, recapping what you just said, the state championship, the biggest test of the year for this Nazareth squad, one of the things that stuck out to me was that this team is deep. 11 of their 43 points came off the bench.
Right, and you had McKinley Moore come off the bench. She scored in double digits. Subs played a key role in this championship win. And we'll touch on some of the starters here in a little bit, like Jolie Pigg and Cambry Clevenger, Madison Brockman as well, who had 7 boards. Talking about Cambry Clevenger, she shot 6 of 11 from the field. She led all scorers with 14 points. I was particularly impressed with the rebounding from senior guard Madison Brockman, who had 7 boards, along with a pair of steals. And then Jolie Pigg, 2 for 6 from the perimeter, giving Nazareth some much-needed sharp shooting from deep. They also, Mallory, forced a whopping 18 turnovers from Saltillo, which if you watch Nazareth, what feels like kind of year in, year out at this point, you know defense is a trademark of the Swiftettes dynasty that we've talked about here a little bit.
And this is title number 27 for the Swiftettes. I don't know if there is a more dominant team in the state of Texas than Nazareth. Would you agree with that statement?
1,000%. I want to say this. When you talk about Major League Baseball, this is my comparison.
Okay.
You talk about the New York Yankees. They have 27 World Series titles. They are looked at as the premier brand of Major League Baseball, one of the most valuable sports franchises in the entire world. When you talk about Texas high school athletics, the Nazareth Swiftettes and girls basketball should be looked at like the New York Yankees. They are a dynasty. They are the premier brand. And I think when you talk about Texas high school girls basketball, the first team you talk about, Nazareth.
I love it. I love that comparison, by the way, because everybody is going to understand that comparison and really truly understand what type of dynasty that Coach Schilling has installed in the Nazareth community. Let's head on out to talk to Trevor Bullard with our MVP of this game, and that's Miss Cambry Clevenger.
You were outscoring them, outscoring Saltillo almost by yourself in that first half. I mean, what got you cooking, getting to the bucket?
Really my teammates. I mean, they just give me the ball in the right time, and they know me so well, and we just get the right people with the ball.
And last question, do you think you can go for 3?
I think so.
All right. Well, hope we see you here next
Yes,
year.
I hope so too.
14 points, 6 for 11 from the field, Gavin, for Miss Cambry. A dominant performance.
Absolutely dominant. And I want to note here that Nazareth, they reload seemingly every single year. Cambry Clevenger, she's going to be back next year. She's only a junior this year. Wrapped up a state championship in her junior year campaign. She's coming back for one more run at it for the Swiftettes.
She did say that she's looking to come back, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see Miss Cambry and Nazareth back there next year. Congratulations again to Nazareth on winning their 27th state championship title. They defeat Saltillo 43-28. Let's move on to 2A Division I. Panhandle defeats Mason 38-25, Gavin. This game, a little bit closer than what we have seen so far.
It was definitely a little bit closer, and I want to talk about this. Both teams came in only one loss apiece on the entire season, right? So this is a game you knew was probably going to be close, probably going to be highly contested, and the game lived up to the hype, I think, to say the least.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and take a look at Panhandle's road to state here. Whew. Talk about a dominance in by district, 88-16. I mean, really, Gavin, when you take a look at all of these games for the Mason Punchers here, none of them were very close. I mean, they kind of held their dominance throughout these 5 games on their way to state.
Right, and you'll see something similar here between Mason and Panhandle. Again, 2 of the top teams all season in Class 2A, especially in the Division I bracket. There's a reason the expectations were so high for this 2A D1 title matchup coming in, and that's because, like you see here with Panhandle, their games weren't very close really until they defeated Wellington in the regional final. The game against Cisco in the semis, they won still by 9. But again, when you have 2 teams that are kind of the cream of the crop in their respective classification all season long, expectations for the state championship are going to be high, and this one lived up to the hype to me.
And I want to ask you specifically, obviously, you mentioned it over and over again. The anticipation was so high. The expectations for both of these teams going into this game were so high, right? What was the real turning point for this game? When did one of these teams start kicking into gear?
I think Panhandle kicked it into gear almost immediately. They got out to one of the weekend's hottest starts. They led 19-2, a 17-point cushion at one point in the second quarter. To me, when you can come in and kind of shell shock your opponent right off the bat, especially on the biggest stage in that big arena in San Antonio in the Alamo Dome, it becomes an even harder task for the opposing team to play that well in those final 2 to 3 quarters. And for the Panthers, it worked against Mason.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and head on over to the Alamo Dome and talk to our MVP of this game. It's Panhandle's Riley Segura.
It's all of the different emotions, and, it just feels great at the end of the day. It feels great. I said we kind of held a little chip on our shoulder throughout the year, and I think we just got over that hump finally.
I love those emotions. I mean, you can tell that she is just beaming with pride for representing Panhandle in such a big game. And Gavin, I want you to talk about the dominance that she put on throughout on the biggest stage of Texas high school basketball.
Right, and you said, she came with a lot of confidence. She was beaming with pride, and to me, she should be. Absolutely, she earned that right. She had 19 points, 8 boards, 3 assists. She shot 7 of 16 from the field, and I want to note here, Riley Segura, who balled out, she was the MVP. She did not have to make a 3 to score those 19 points. She got it done from mid-range. She got it done from the line. She collected 8 rebounds as well. She didn't have to do it from deep, but she got it done nonetheless.
Well, and I want to point out, too, her basketball career is far from over. She's an Abilene Christian commit. So she's got years of dominance left in her bloodstream as she will go on to play for Abilene Christian this next year. Congratulations again to Panhandle for winning the 2A Division I state championship game at 38-25 over Mason. Let's round out Class 2A with our 2A Division II state champions. Lipan defeats Martins Mill 42-35. And Gavin, what sticks out to me about this game? 1, it was a close game. It was a pretty good game. It was very competitive. 2, these are household names when it comes to girls basketball.
Yeah, definitely household names, Mal. And I want to point out here that you have parity right now at the split divisions, down in the lower classifications especially. But Lipan making their 12th state tournament appearance, including this year, 2026, a household name. So is Martins Mill. And you look at the playoff run for Lipan, not a ton of close games here. The closest one, really, aside from the state title game, was the state semi-win against Groover. They won that by 12. That's still a double-digit win, showing how dominant this Lipan Lady Indians team is down in Class 2A Division II. Then you go over to Martins Mill. Some jarring scores here, right? They defeated Love Lady in the by-district round 100-19, which feels just like unfathomable to me. But then some other good wins are against Chirino, Goldthwaite, Harleton, Mart. Again, programs that you kind of talk about as being successful across the board in Class 2A.
Well, and taking a look at the state championship game specifically, what stood out to me, Lipan didn't use anybody but their own starters, and that's 32 minutes out of your starting 5. That, to me, is so impressive.
Right, and they're not credited with any official substitution, so to get 32 minutes out of your starting five is incredible stuff. I honestly, watching the game, didn't even notice that they didn't use any of their bench players, any of their role players, because their starters were so effective. You didn't even notice that, hey, this girl needs to come out, because they were all doing their job so well, especially Sydney Gaylor, the Lipan freshman. She introduced herself and then some on the big stage. She dropped 23 points, 8 rebounds, and she went perfect at the charity stripe, 8 for 8. While additionally, junior Kinsey Calloway had 11 boards to lead the Lady Indians. Super impressed with Calloway's ability to control the boards herself.
Gavin, Sydney Gaylor's stats, will you read them just one more time for me?
Yeah, 23 points, 8 rebounds, and she went perfect at the free throw line, 8 for 8.
To me, that says MVP, right? And sure enough, Sydney Gaylor was our MVP of this game. And we head on over to the Alamo Dome to talk to our MVP.
I mean, there wasn't a moment where I was like, oh, shoot, you know what I mean? And when I stepped to the free throw line, I was like, I put in the work, and I just 1, 2, 3 up, and then I knew I had put in the work, so I had confidence in myself.
I like the confidence. You know, she's saying, I put in the work. You know, we were ready for this moment. And I feel like you kind of get the same feel out of each of these MVPs as, you know, we were confident going into this game. We've put in the work to get to this point, and that's exactly what Sydney was saying. And she's also a coach's daughter.
Mallory, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was actually just going to say, Sydney Gaylor comes from a basketball family, right? Her dad on the boys' side, the coach, her brothers have come through the program on the boys' side for Lipan. Sydney Gaylor now introducing herself to the world as the next member of the Gaylor family, up next in the basketball realm. And she left her mark on the state championships already as a 9th grader, as a freshman.
That's crazy, as a 9th grader. So that means that Lipan is probably going to be back next year.
I would bet on it.
I would bet on it, too. Congratulations again to Lipan, beating Martinsville 42-35 in the 2A Division II state championship game. Gavin, we have plenty of other games to talk about, some that are super exciting. But first, here's a word from our sponsors.
Once a year, a rhythm thunders across Texas. It can't be tamed.
It can only be driven.
Texas is Ford Truck Month. Let's ride. These trucks, they haul, tow, and conquer everything in their path. So hold on tight and drive the Stampede.
The Stampede is running at your Best in Texas Ford dealer. Get 0 for 60 plus 1,000 truck month bonus cash and F-150.
Ford is the best in Texas.
Well, this doesn't look like finding your zen.
Tell me about it.
Shh. Let's get those allergies under control. No talking needed. There you go. You'll be breathing easier in no time. Take back the day. Same care you know and love, available the same day.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
UIL Spotlight is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers, Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, and Baylor Scott & White Health.
Welcome back to UIL Spotlight. Let's jump into Class 3A of the Girls State Championship basketball games. And Hitchcock defeats Shallow Water 60-46. And Gavin, congratulations to Hitchcock. It was their first state appearance ever in the history of this program, and they come out with a win.
Yeah, Hitchcock out of Galveston County, you watch their playoff run here. They were hungry, right? They have never been to the state championship game before, let alone the state tournament. In their first appearance, they went through their playoff run. They kind of played some of those Southeast Texas, like Orangefield, some of the Central Texas teams like Fairfield, like Little River Academy. And then they defeated Bishop in the state semis 63-49. So they kind of actually had their fair share, to me, geographically, of teams from across the state that they had to go through, and they got it done.
Absolutely. And taking a look here at Shallow Water's road to state, closer games here. You know, they had to fight tooth and nail each game to really pull out that win. And I think that did prepare them for the state championship game.
I think so too. Shallow Water's a gritty team. They've got their fair share of experience in their program, and I think it kind of showed in their playoff run. They weren't afraid to play those close games and come out, like you said, fighting tooth and nail to get to the Alamo Dome to play for that state championship game.
The Lady Bulldogs really wasted no time getting started in this game, dominating inside with 26 points in the paint, and Gavin really establishing themselves early on in this matchup.
Yeah, Hitchcock is a tough team, right? They, like you said, 26 points inside. They were in the paint. They were throwing elbows. They were bullies, right? And that's what you want to see out of a tough team, out of the Hitchcock Bulldogs. They forced also 21 turnovers from Shallow Water, collecting 14 points off of those turnovers. They were also phenomenal in transition. They only used a handful of players. The starting five, though, to me was electric. They got 14 points out of the senior Kimora Carroll, 13 each out of Vashia Ferris and Slya Johnson, along with a game-high 18 from Terrell Jones, and Mallory Hitchcock led for over 28 minutes of the game. They only trailed for 9 seconds, which
is crazy to me.
It's the most impressive part about their entire win to me. 9 seconds they trailed the whole game.
I mean, that's asserting dominance early, and that's being confident in sticking up and staying up throughout the entire game. I mean, that is a great performance there by Hitchcock. And let's go ahead and talk to Terrell Jones, like you just mentioned. She was our MVP of this game. Let's head on out to the Alamo Dome.
The game came to me was, I was thinking like it was kill mode. So I just came in there, and people might think the girl number 40 came to the game. I was going to be scared, but no, I feel like a 6'4" girl. And I feel like nobody give me my credits on that type of stuff because I'm going to be going for the rebound. Sometimes I jump over somebody to get the rebound because that's what I want is the rebound. And I just go in beast mode, like I just want to play basketball.
The excitement in her face, Gavin. What I really like about, let's talk about like the city of Hitchcock here for a second, right? Obviously have been pretty dominant when it comes to football the last couple years. They just brought home a girls' state title, basketball state title. They brought home a boys' state title in basketball last year. So Hitchcock is kind of asserting themselves as, hey, we're a sports county here.
Right, and Hitchcock is one of those teams, right, that you talk about. They represent for where they're from. Mm-hmm. They're from Galveston County, down there, a little bit south of Houston, going in that general Galveston area. They watched the boys team get theirs last season. The girls said, hey, it's our turn, it's our time. We're going to bring home a state championship back to Hitchcock, Texas.
And they did that. Hitchcock defeating Shallow Water 60-46 in 3A Division I state championship game. Sticking in 3A, let's move on to Class 3A Division II here. The Wall Hawks take down Nacogdoches Central Heights 49-34. And man, the thing that stuck out to me about this game, when you shoot well and you get your performances from those big-time players, your stars on that team, things are going to go pretty well for you.
100%. Big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games, and for the Wall Hawks, they got it done. We'll talk here first about the road to state for Nacogdoches Central Heights. They go through kind of a gauntlet to me in 3A Division II. They go through Kuntz, Anderson, Shiro. They played West. They got Buffalo. They got Jourdanton. And a lot of close games here, especially that Jourdanton game. That's one that a lot of people...
three-point game, yeah,
right.
That state semi game.
A lot of people really excited about that one. It lived up to the hype as well in the state semis. You get into that Final Four, the games are usually pretty close. And Nacogdoches Central Heights able to advance past Jourdanton. Now, I mean, we want to look at, of course, the Wall playoff run here. Brady, not very close. Toller, a little bit closer. Idalou, they got them by 10. Kahoma, 56-42. And then Paradise, 54-51 in the state semis. That game came down to the wire. But Wall able to get it done over the Paradise Panthers to punch their ticket to the Alamo Dome. Where Mallory, they eventually got it done.
They eventually got it done. What I want to bring up specifically about both state semi games is that they were both super close. And I think that really prepared both of these teams to go in with that dog-eat-dog mentality. And really, obviously, Wall came out victorious here, but it was a good game.
It was 49-34. Wall shot 38% from the field and behind the arc, both draining 8 of their 21 three-point attempts. When you shoot that well, and like we've talked about earlier in this segment, you get performances from your stars that we're about to talk about. You're hard to beat, right? Mackenzie Lopez, she'll be back for one more campaign with Wall, led the scoring with 11, while Jules Johnson, only a sophomore, she's an underclassman at this point, made her presence known, double-digit rebounds for Jules Johnson. And a few seniors set the tone as well. Lopez, the junior, Johnson, the underclassman. Wall led by as many as 23. Mallory, they pulled away in the late third and the early fourth, and they even out-rebounded on the offensive glass 14-9.
Miss Jules Johnson, she is our MVP of this game. Obviously, you just read her stats, an incredible performance by Jules. Let's head on out to the Alamo Dome and see what she has to say.
After we won the Winrose tournament, especially seeing those kind of teams there that are really special, and they did go pretty far in playoffs. I think that was just our moment of, like, we are the better team in this 3A division, and that's all I could ever ask for.
Gavin, the Wall Hawks, just like Hitchcock we just talked about, right? They're kind of establishing themselves as a sports community, you know, and you can tell just by Jules when she's talking, right? You can feel it. You can feel her excitement when she's representing the Hawks in that type of way. You know, this is a community, and they're all so proud to take home a state title back to Wall.
And they absolutely should be. This is the Wall Hawks' first state title in girls basketball since 2016. Mal, I'm sure you've seen it on social media. You're on TikTok. You're on Twitter. They say 2026 is the new 2016. For the Wall Hawks, For the Wall Hawks, that was true. I'm not saying we got to bring everything back, but for Wall, they brought back the fact that they are now state champions again for the first time in a decade.
Congratulations to the Wall Hawks. They beat Nacogdoches Central Heights 49-34 in the 3A Division II state championship game. Let's climb up to Class 4A, specifically 4A Division I. Gavin, let's get our cookers ready. Decatur defeats Waco La Vega 58-54 in overtime. What a banger of a game this was, Gav.
Mal, absolute banger. This is one of the games that we knew coming in was probably going to be one of the better ones of the state weekend, right? Only game that went to overtime, and you look at the playoff runs, again, Decatur did some really impressive stuff.
Wow, that by-district game, 109-13. That's dominance there.
Right, and then the last two rounds, they go through Canyon, they breeze past them a tiny bit, and then they blow through Prosper Richland, who I was impressed with as a first-year program, the first year the school's been open. They make it to the state semis, but Decatur said, not so fast, Lady Raiders. We're going to state, and they knock off Prosper Richland 42-20. Meanwhile, for Waco La Vega, right, they get past the Badgers of Lampasas, Fort Bend Willow Ridge. They then get through a couple opponents in Palestine and Fort Bend Crawford. Davenport in the state semis, an up-and-coming program out of the San Antonio area, 42-20, that was looking to play maybe closer to a home game at the Alamo Dome, if you can call it that. They denied them as well, and these are two teams that have been here and done that, especially this decade, and this game lived up to the hype.
Right, it was a rematch from last year. These two teams are very familiar with each other. Decatur defeated Waco La Vega last year in San Antonio. And sure enough, they do it again.
Exactly right. Drew Kaufman's Decatur Eagles, they're looking to run it back against the same Waco La Vega team. They defeated them the same stage last year in San Antonio. And that's a La Vega team out of the Belmead area, the suburb of Waco, not to mention one of the most consistent girls basketball programs in Texas this decade specifically. And we have to start with Braylon Peck, right, the 6'1 senior forward who had, in my opinion, I'm going to say it, the top performance of the entire weekend, okay? She went out on the highest note possible. She dropped 33 points, 12 boards, and she was the most lethal Eagle from the three-point line, going 3 for 5.
Jeez, that's what you call dominance right there. I mean, she was one of the reasons why this Decatur team was able to pull out such a gritty win. And sure enough, Gavin, she was our MVP of Decatur. Let's head on out to the Alamo Dome to talk to Miss Braylon Peck.
Being back-to-back and knowing what it takes, the hard work get you anywhere.
Gavin, I like what she said. She just shrugs her shoulder and she says, back-to-back.
Yeah, Braylon Peck, super nonchalant with it, right? But she shouldn't be, and I'll tell you why. Decatur trailed by 2, right? Mm-hmm. They have time for one possession. Here's exactly what happened. You saw the highlight of it. Didn't tell the whole story, okay?
Okay.
They're down by 2. They have to inbound. There's an inadvertent whistle on the final possession. Decatur has to run it back. They have to do the inbound pass again. And if you're Drew Kaufman, you're saying, we just showed you our cards. You see our hand now. What do? I don't know what the first play call was. I don't know if they were going to try to go for a game-winning 3 in this final possession of regulation, or if they were going to go for a 2, which they ended up doing anyways. They heave it into Braylon Peck. She high points it in the paint. She banks it in for 2 off the glass. They go to overtime. Decatur prevails 58-54 over Waco La Vega. They go back-to-back, and that last possession to me really just told the story of the game. Mm-hmm. That also, by the way, Decatur, not to mention, trailed by as many as 10 early in that second half in the third quarter.
Jeez. I mean, that's a gritty win. We've talked about gritty wins all throughout this whole program so far, but this to me is the definition of a gritty win. And of course, Braylon Peck, she is a senior this year, but she's not done. Where's she going? Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State future Cowboy going up to Stillwater. She's going to play her collegiate basketball in the Big 12, and she has plenty to be excited about, in my opinion, after, like I said, the greatest performance of the entire state week, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I can agree with that. Again, congratulations to Decatur going back-to-back, defeating Waco La Vega 58-54 in overtime in the 4A Division I state championship game. Gav, let's round out Class 4A here. 4A Division II, Dallas Lincoln defeats Fredericksburg 77-49. That's a dominant win for Dallas Lincoln. And then this is a team that has kind of established themselves in the Dallas area.
Right. Dallas Lincoln, it was a weekend, right, that you kind of felt like there were so many teams trying to go back-to-back. Dallas Lincoln's one of them, and they certainly did. Look at some of these playoff scores. 82-27, 68-26, Canton 47-39, Paris North Lamar, they beat them by 30. Brock, a solid program here in Class 4A Division II, 46-26. Dallas Lincoln knew what they had to do to get back to the state championship and try to go back-to-back, claim that second straight crown, and they got through their competition fairly easily, if you can call it that.
Well, and Gavin, what I wanted to point out here specifically with Fredericksburg is that this is a really gritty team. I mean, we've talked about it all season, right? These gritty teams are the ones that can make it to the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. And you can see here by their road to state, I mean, each one of their games, they really did have to play with a lot of grit, especially that state semifinal game against Bridge City, only winning by 4 points. But really, a scrappy and gritty Fredericksburg team this is.
Right, and it made for a great state championship, didn't it? Let's go right into talking about some of the performances here, especially for Dallas Lincoln. So they lead for all but roughly a minute and a half of the game. They controlled it from the jump, right? Lene Dallas, she put on for Dallas, to say the least, dropping 23 points and going 9 for 12 from the field. She had a heroic effort. It was one of the more lopsided games we saw, but as the Lady Tigers, they did basically everything well. 42 points in the paint, another bully-type game out of Dallas Lincoln. 23 points off turnovers, and they even got double-digit points off of their bench. Argyle Elder did her damage from the perimeter and the free throw line. She goes 3 for 6 from deep, and she went 7 for 10 after drawing contact at the charity stripe. And Ashley Greer's squad even had 23 fast break points as the Lady Tigers put on a clinic at the Dome.
Putting on a clinic for the Dome, and Miss Lene Dallas putting on a clinic for the city of Dallas. And funny enough, she was our MVP. Let's head on out to the Alamo Dome.
Honestly, I didn't even know I had my skills. I was just going out there and playing how I played the right mindset.
Gavin, 23 points, 9 for 12 from the field, and 9 steals for Miss Lene Dallas. Very, very impressive showing from our girl.
Yeah, Lene Dallas was feeling like Jeezy. She put on for her city, right? She got it done for Dallas. Thank you.
Claps.
The win marked title number 5 for Dallas Lincoln. They're second in the last 2 seasons, a team that is starting to kind of inch closer to that dynasty status that we talk about for so many of these programs in Texas high school girls basketball. Dallas Lincoln, I think, next up.
Next up. I like it. 5 titles. I mean, that's pretty impressive. That's a dynasty starting to create itself. Again, congratulations to Dallas Lincoln for winning the 4A Division II state championship game 77-49 over Fredericksburg. We've got the big dogs up next. So stick around. We're not going away. We'll be right back.
UIL Spotlight is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealers.
Whatever it is you wrangle, whatever seeds you sow, no matter what you nurture or what you choose to grow, at Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, we're proud to protect all Texans.
Once a year, a rhythm thunders across Texas. It can't be tamed.
It can only be driven.
Texas is Ford Truck Month. Let's ride. These trucks, they haul, tow, and conquer everything in their path. So hold on tight and drive the Stampede.
The Stampede is running at your Best in Texas Ford dealer. Get 0 for 60 plus 1,000 truck month bonus cash and F-150.
Ford is the best in Texas.
Well, this doesn't look like finding yours in.
Tell me about it.
Shh. Let's get those allergies under control. No talking needed. There you go. You'll be breathing easier in no time. Take back the day. Same care you know and love, available the same day.
UIL Spotlight is brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, Baylor Scott & White Health, and your Texas Ford dealers.
Welcome back to UIL Spotlight. Let's talk about the big dogs. We'll start here with 5A Division I. Denton Ryan takes down Leander Glenn 45-34. And Gavin, this Denton Ryan team has had one of the most dominant postseason runs in all of Texas, in my opinion.
That they did. And Denton Ryan, like you said, we're talking about the big dogs here. Denton Ryan was one of the top dogs in Class 5A all season long. And their postseason scores really were indicative of that. Granbury, Cleburne, El Paso Americas, Amarillo, Tascosa, Walnut Grove. The Walnut Grove game was pretty close. It was their closest one. It was still a 12-point double-digit win. But Denton Ryan was a team that was not satisfied. We'll touch on that a little bit later as we talk about the Lady Raiders here. They were not satisfied with their state title from last year. One was not enough. Moving on to Leander Glenn. They beat Como Piper 44-21, South San Antonio by 15, Corpus Christi Flower Bluff, then they got Wagner. LaPorte out of the kind of greater Houston area, a 12-point win in the state semis. Leander Glenn, though, came in hungry, and a big reason why this is such a close game, an 11-point win for Denton Ryan.
A pretty dominant postseason run there for Leander Glenn as well. But, man, the story of this game, I'd have to say, is Denton Ryan forcing all these turnovers. I mean, they forced 17 turnovers from Glenn. And, man, this defensive pressure from Ryan was what really kind of solidified the deal for the Raiders.
Right, and actually Denton Ryan they were kind of outshot from the field by Leander Glenn, right? Denton Ryan shot just 26% from the field. Leander Glenn was up above 30, but the Lady Raiders out-rebounded the Grizzlies 40-29, including a staggering 22-7 advantage on the offensive boards. Down the stretch, close game. It was Denton Ryan that heated up in the clutch, going on a 7-0 run in the final 2 minutes or so to close it out. Leander Glenn held scoreless in the final 3-0-1, going 1 for their last 9 from the field. Denton Ryan shut them down, Mal.
Man, that's absolutely true. And we'll go ahead and talk to our MVP, Miss Jamila Anderson, out of Denton Ryan. Let's head on over to the Alamo Dome to see what she had to say after their big win.
Well, coming into the playoffs, we just knew that we just had a mission, we had one job, and we knew that it was just one game at a time. And once we hit that 5th game, we just knew that it was safe, that it was just our job to just come out here and do it again. That we were just on a mission, like we just stayed the course, and I knew that we was going to be okay. I just stayed calm, because I knew my team was just going to have my back and we was going to get the job done.
Back-to-back again was the story here for Denton Ryan. And one of the things that you have pointed out to me is that their slogan this season was "One is not enough."
Malin, one simply wasn't enough for Denton Ryan. They went and ran it back. They got their state title last year. They said, hey, one's not enough. We need a 2-piece, right?
Yeah.
And speaking of combo orders, Jamila Anderson dropped 14 points. So did Kenley Lewis, but Anderson had a double-double, right? She got the double-double combo. She got 14 points, 10 rebounds. She put on for Denton Ryan. She got the MVP status. Meanwhile, Xaviana Madison, the Incarnate Word signee, she got to play in San Antonio, where she'll be playing her collegiate basketball at UIW. Mm-hmm. She had 6 points as well. She was impactful. Kenley Lewis, Jamila Anderson, that trio for Denton Ryan, they got it done.
Truly a dominant showing by Denton Ryan there at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio. Congratulations again to the Raiders for defeating Leander Glenn 45-34 in the 5A Division I state championship game. Let's stick in 5A and go to 5A Division II, where Argyle defeats Mont Bellevue Barbers Hill 51-42, a little bit closer there for the Argyle Eagles. And really, this was an Argyle team that simply just had the juice to make it all the way to the state championships and come out victorious.
Absolutely right. It's a battle of the Lady Eagles. One of them had to soar, right? Argyle out of Denton County. Look at their postseason run again. A couple close games kind of in the middle stretch against Palo Duro and Lubbock Monterey, playing some teams from kind of out west, up north a little bit. And then they got Frisco Memorial. They beat them 52-41 in the state semis. But Argyle is one of those teams that was kind of dominant the whole year that you kind of figured would be playing on this stage, right? Then you look at Mott and Bellevue, Barbers Hill, their postseason run, Friendswood, Huntsville, Pflugerville Weiss, Iowa Colony, Cedar Park. They got a taste of some of the Houston area teams before they had to go toe-to-toe with one of the top teams. Historically, especially in the last decade or so in Cedar Park, formerly led by Donnie Ott, who I'm going to mention later in the broadcast as well, by the way. They defeated Cedar Park 34-31. Just a couple of storied programs there they were able to knock off. But again, these are two teams that finished ranked in the top 6 to end the regular season. Argyle was ranked 5th. Barbers Hill finished in the 6th spot. Both teams had exciting runs, so I was excited for this one. Argyle came out hot. They led 13-4 after a quarter of play thanks to strong play inside and a few threes knocked down by Green and Jernigan. But Barbers Hill found a rhythm in the second. They cut it down to a 20-16 4-point Argyle advantage at the break. Both teams scored 29% of their total points from the three-point line, but to me, Mallory, Argyle just more physical inside, be it in the paint or from mid-range, and Emma King, Argyle's junior forward, finished with 18 points, but what's impressive about that to me, 10 of those points came from the line. She was physical, she drew contact, and Barbers Hill could not help but send Emma King to the free throw line time and time again.
They also sent Emma King to go collect her MVP award. Let's head on out to the Alamodome and hear from Coach what he had to say about Emma King.
They're here to construct me. Emma King was a JV player last year, guys. And she could have played on JV, on any other team's varsity. But I had a really good post last year, and I didn't know how many minutes I could get her. And so I said, Emma, I want you to play every minute on JV. And she didn't get mad. She put the work in. And I knew this year when she became a junior and that spot opened up, that she would be an incredible player for us. And we've had multiple kids like that. Our team was good this year because our varsity returners put the work into it to improve, but we have 4 or 5 kids in rotation on JV, and they stepped right into those roles.
Emma King, a quite dominant performance. 18 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 blocks for Miss Emma King, the MVP of the 5A Division II state championship game. Gavin, another unbelievable performance from Miss King.
Emma King was the king of them all, right? She finished with 18 points. Wrigley Green, another junior for the Argyle Lady Eagles. Wrigley Green finished with 13 as well, in part because of a pair of threes, but she also went 5 for 10 from the field. And Argyle, those two juniors, plenty of talent coming back next year, coming off now their first state title since 2019, picking up their first state championship in 7 years now. They've got a couple of them.
Absolutely. The Eagles, the Argyle Eagles specifically, come out victorious over Barbers Hill, 51-42 in the 5A Division II state championship game. Gavin, let's get to the highest classification in Texas high school basketball, and we'll start off with the top dogs in 6A Division I. That's Humble Summer Creek defeating Flower Mound 55-45. And I know we have talked about this. A lot of these games have been highly anticipated, right? But this game specifically, coming into it, both of these teams are household names in Texas high school basketball, and it didn't disappoint.
No, to me, I'm going to say it was the most anticipated matchup personally coming into the state title games. Summer Creek out of Humble ISD, the reigning champions. Flower Mound went on quite a run themselves to San Antonio, led by masked Macy Pringle. She's an absolute dog. But for Summer Creek, they were the top dog, winning this one 55-45. And, one common opponent coming in, by the way, that I do want to talk about was North Crowley, who actually beat Summer Creek earlier in the season, but they were knocked off by Flower Mound in the regional final, one of the more exciting wins of the entire season itself across the state. So you had to kind of wonder, Mallory, did Flower Mound have maybe the recipe to knock off Summer Creek because of that common opponent in highly ranked North Crowley? Summer Creek, though, said, nah, that recipe's not good enough. We're cooking something else.
And they, for sure, go back-to-back. They win a second straight title to bring home to Humble, Texas. And Gav, take me through what this game entailed. I feel like it was a thriller all the way through. What were some of the highlights standing out to you?
Well, Flower Mound got off to a good start before Aaron Newsom and Summer Creek started to heat up. Multiple trips to the line in the first and some work inside additionally. With a 2-point game at the halftime intermission, this one was exactly what we expected it to be. Flower Mound was actually better overall from the field. They shot a 43% clip. but Summer Creek got hot from beyond the arc, hitting at 33% from deep. Addison Martin was the Lady Bulldogs volume shooter, especially from three. She knocked down 4 of them. Kennedy Simpson, one of the most decorated players out of the Houston area. She was a McDonald's All-American Game nominee. But she had a quiet night from the field, right? I feel like that was part of the game plan for Flower Mound and Macy Pringle. They said, hey, if we can shut down Kennedy Simpson, maybe we'll have a shot here. So in came Aaron Newsom, in came Addison Martin, Taisha Young. They picked up kind of where Kennedy Simpson got taken out of the equation, and Summer Creek ultimately able to win a second straight title, 55-45 for Humble ISD in that Northeast Houston area.
A very well-rounded team, I'd like to say, with a lot of depth too, but obviously there can only be one MVP at the end of the day. And that was Miss Erin Newsom of Summer Creek with 15 points and 9 rebounds. Let's head on out to the Alamo Dome to see what she had to say about her performance.
A lot of people know our story. We came back from an 18-point deficit, so it took us a lot more fight than it did this year. But we still gave our 100%. I believe we gave 110, 120 last year, but this year we still gassed ourselves out, gave 100% all that we could do. Last year was just a harder fight. This year was still a hard fight because Flower Mound is a good team, very, very strong and aggressive. So we just had to match energy and come out stronger.
I love her holding the flowers because she deserved all the flowers in such a dominant win there for Summer Creek. Gavin, one thing to note here is that Summer Creek has definitely asserted their dominance in the Texas high school basketball realm the last couple of years.
That's absolutely right. Since Summer Creek really kind of came onto the scene within the last decade or so, they have had some of the top head coaches in Texas high school girls basketball. They have new Manor ISD athletic director Carlisa Dixon. She was formerly their head coach. Shout out to Coach Dixon. She's a phenomenal. Then they had the legendary Donnie Ott, who came over from Cedar Park. Neither of them, to me, somehow could just kind of get that elusive state championship for Summer Creek. Kiera Marshall, the new head coach for Summer Creek. 2 seasons, Mallory, 2 titles.
2 seasons, 2 titles. That's pretty good.
I'd say so.
I'm not very good at math, but that seems pretty good to me.
Yes, it does.
Congratulations to Summer Creek as they defeat Flower Mound 55-45 in the 6A Division I state championship game. Let's round out the weekend, Gavin, with our 6A Division II state champions. And that's Lancaster defeating Austin Westlake 51-37. This is a game all about speed. Lancaster is known throughout their entire program, whether that's football, basketball, track. This team is going to bring the speed, Gavin.
Absolutely right. And Lancaster had to go toe-to-toe in Region 2 with a couple of those Cy-Fair teams out of Cy-Fair ISD. Langham Creek, very fast program. Cy Springs, they've got some dogs as well. Then they had to go through Denton, Braswell. So Lancaster, a team known for their speed, they breezed through the competition. Not always easily, but they did it effectively. Then you look at Austin Westlake. They came in undefeated. They were trying to complete the perfect season. They were 40-0 coming in. Vista Ridge, Sotomayor, Harlingen, Converse Judson, Shadow Creek. The Shadow Creek game was especially close. Came down to the last possession or so. They knock off the Sharks. Austin Westlake, looking to complete that perfect season, gets to the Alamo Dome. But it was Lancaster that felt like the 2007 New York Giants, denying them perfection.
Yeah, and what I like about this game specifically is that it had a couple of storylines that went into it. I mean, Lancaster obviously looking for its first state title ever in program history. And like you mentioned, Austin Westlake looking to complete the perfect season. This game didn't disappoint.
No, and Lancaster had 3 starters dropped 10+ with Mackenzie White, Journey Hampton, and Ava Womack, all upperclassmen and leaders for the Lady Tigers, shooting extremely well. Watching this game, I think Lancaster honestly came in feeling like maybe they had something to prove, right? And to be honest, it showed watching Coach Howard's group and the entire game plan. They only attempted a trio, 3 3-pointers the entire game. They didn't even make one, Mal. They went instead 47%, 20 of 43 from the field, 69% from the free throw line. To me, they were simply more physical than the unbeaten Chaparrals of Austin Westlake, bringing a title home to South Dallas after coming up just short in 2025. Lancaster, the Tigers, Weibo got it done.
Weibo got it done, and so did Mackenzie White, 14.7 rebounds and 2 steals for our MVP of this game. Let's head on out to the Alamo Dome.
I'm not sure if they felt pressure or not, but I knew that they knew we could beat them because we had such a big lead in the beginning of the year. And so they knew that we were coming. And that is a lot to know that somebody that was up that much and they were the person that I know they were like, man, this is the person we got to play for the state championship. I knew they felt it.
Man, it's got to feel good to avenge that state championship loss from last year. I mean, that's right. That's every team's dream. You make it to state, and if you lose, you're looking to come back and you're looking to bounce back and finally secure that title. And that's exactly what Lancaster did over Austin Westlake. They defeat them 51-37 in the 6A Division II state title game. 12 games in a span of 4 days, is it? I mean, it's a lot of heavy packed action. 3 days, excuse me. That's still a lot. I mean, that's 4 games a day for 3 days straight, right? It's a lot of action to unpack. And man, it did not disappoint. It was so exciting. And from everyone here at Dave Campbell's Texas Football, congratulations to all of our state champions and even our runner-ups as well. I mean, we know that how hard and how tough it is to make it to this point. So congratulations to everybody that won a state title and for everybody that participated in the state championship games this year. Special shout out to Ford for presenting The Road to State and Baylor Scott and White Health for presenting highlights and Texas Farm Bureau Insurance for bringing you all the amazing post-game coverage and interviews that you just saw. And of course, we can't let you go without a special shout out to our friends at Focus Point Sports for shooting all the wonderful footage that you guys just saw from the Alamo Dome. We couldn't have gotten all of this done without the help of our wonderful friends and sponsors. For Gavin Moritz, I'm Mallory Hartley. Thanks for watching our coverage of the girls' state basketball on our UIL Spotlight special. We'll see you next time.